Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call.
Sure. Chairman Freeman. Here. Representatives Borowski. Here. Donahue.
Vote by designation.
Fleming.
Vote by designation.
Paddock.
Vote by designation.
Hambidge.
Vote by designation.
Kazim.
Vote by designation.
Madsen.
Here.
Monroe.
He is joining us virtually, but vote by designation.
Probst. Here. Prokopiak. Here. Salisbury.
Vote by designation.
Sappy.
Vote by designation.
Smith Waddell.
And vote by designation.
Chairman Miller.
Here.
Representatives Banta. Here. Fink.
By designation.
Flick. Here. Jones.
By designation.
Kozak. Here. Kuzma.
By designation.
Reichert.
By designation.
Rincabbage.
By designation.
Watro. Weakneck.
By designation.
Wentling. We have a quorum.
Okay. Quorum being present, we can continue with our agenda. I'd like to turn to Chairman Miller and ask him to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please rise?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Moving on to our legislation to be considered today, our first bill is House Bill 162. Representative Major is the prime sponsor. I'll call on Joshua Walker to give an overview of the legislation. First, is there a motion to bring up the bill? Moved by Mr. Miller and seconded by Representative Probst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 162, offered by Representative Major, amends Title 11 to allow cities of the third class to levy an annual property tax of up to $0.5 million to support ambulance, rescue, and other emergency services. The City Council may use up to half of the revenue for salaries, benefits, or compensation of emergency service employees. If a tax higher than $0.5 million is proposed, it must be approved by city voters through a ballot measure. This bill would take effect in 60 days, and currently it's good to note that the boroughs and townships do have this authority to levy an emergency services tax at the same $0.5 million rate. The bill is supported by the Pennsylvania Municipal League and the State Association of Township Commissioners, and Mr. Chairman, Representative Major is here to speak on her bill.
Representative Major, thank you for joining us. Did you want to make some comments regarding your legislation?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Chairman Freeman, Miller, and members of the Local Government Committee for selecting this piece of legislation for consideration. As you know, there are thousands of municipalities and EMS entities across the Commonwealth facing a funding crisis to provide critical emergency services to millions of Commonwealth residents. While these entities have their own subscription programs and fundraisers, the revenue still falls short of the rising costs of adequate pay and expensive but necessary equipment. These entities are looking for us to provide solutions to make sure our technicians are adequately paid and appropriately supplied with state-of-the-art life-saving equipment. Boroughs and townships already have the ability to levy an annual tax specifically to support emergency services, but third-class cities do not have the same authorization. The city of Lower Borough in the 60th District, with just under 12,000 residents, has requested this legislation so that they may be afforded the same opportunity to help support their struggling emergency services as boroughs and townships already have. This legislation would amend the third-class city code to authorize third-class cities to levy an annual tax not to exceed $0.5 million to support ambulance, rescue, and other emergency services serving their city. To be clear, this bill does not enact this tax. This legislation simply extends the same authorization to our third-class cities as our boroughs and townships already have, and gives each municipality the ability to take this step if it is needed to keep their emergency services afloat. I understand that there is an amendment offered by Chairman Freeman that would authorize the City Council to waive the limitation on how much of the tax revenue can be used for compensation. I know this language is from Senator Brown's bills that were applied to other codes last session. I believe it is fair and appropriate, and I want to thank the chairman for offering the amendment. I encourage a yes vote on both the amendment and the bill. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Representative Major? Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Borowski.
I don't really have any questions. I just want to thank you very much for bringing this piece of legislation forward. I think you're right. We are in crisis when it comes to EMS and fire across our Commonwealth. And certainly this is, I think, a piece of a three-pronged approach, which would include the insurance companies coming to the table, working with our municipalities, and also the state. So thank you very much for creating this legislation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I thank the lady. Is there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the amendment before we take up the bill in chief. Is there a motion to bring up Amendment A00040? Moved by Representative Probst, seconded by, going once, going twice. Oh, Representative Borowski. Okay, thank you. John, I'll turn to you to give an overview of the amendment.
Okay, Amendment A00040, Chairman Freeman's amendment, would authorize the City Council to waive by resolution the current limitation contained in the bill so that more than one-half of the revenue generated from the tax may be used for compensation of personnel in any calendar year. And as was mentioned by the prime sponsor of the bill, this would conform this bill and this code to provisions that were added last session to the Borough Code and the first and second class Township Code.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about the amendment? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Are you okay with a voice vote, or do you want to have a roll call? It's up to you.
We have one negative vote.
Oh, okay.
On this one.
Okay.
Wendy Fink and everyone else is okay, if you're okay with that.
Okay. If it's okay, then we'll say that the vote was unanimous with the Representative Fink voting in the negative. So the amendment is adopted. We now move back to the bill in chief. Are there any final comments or questions before we take up a vote? And would you like us to have the same vote?
Yes.
Okay. Then all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the only no vote is Representative Fink. That moves us on to the next bill, House Bill 209, Representative Borowski. Did you wish to make some comment, Representative?
Thank you very much, Chair Freeman and Chair Miller, for bringing this forward. I want to thank John also for his help in the legislation. And I would like to introduce Chair Leonard Altieri. He is the chair of the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors. This legislation was really his brainchild, and I'd like to give him an opportunity to say just a few brief words. Mr. Altieri.
Brevity was reinforced to me multiple times. I will just acknowledge quickly that my mother is watching this. She's probably one of 4 people in the entire Commonwealth watching it, so I just wanted to say, hey, Mom, and hopefully I'm doing well. Real quick, I mean, the impetus of this, quite frankly, so I am the chairman of the Board of Supervisors in Newtown Township, which is located in Delaware County. We're a population of about 15,000 people in the suburbs of Philadelphia. In the first-class township in the Borough Code, when an ordinance is enacted by that governing body, it becomes effective immediately. In the second-class township, the language specifically states that the ordinance does not become effective until 5 days after. The way that this came about was we adopted a new stormwater ordinance in Newtown Township, which increased our riparian buffers from 50 to 100 feet. It was a good environmental piece of legislation that we enacted in Newtown Township. We enacted that on a Monday night. There was a lawyer in the room who was representing one of the larger landowners, and by Friday we had 2 applications come in to vest under that existing thing. We're not changing anything with regards to notice provisions in the beginning. We're still providing the regular notice provisions that would be required for an ordinance change, but it makes this consistent to what is in the first-class township and the second-class township. As was noted in Representative Borowski's co-sponsor memorandum, 44% of all residents in this Commonwealth live in a second-class township, and this is just making that consistent to what we have for the other municipalities. So thank you very much, Representative Borowski. I hope that I was brief. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman Miller and Chairman Freeman, for allowing this legislation to be introduced, and I hope that we get an affirmative vote out of it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and thanks for your attendance here today. I did forget to ask, is there a motion to bring up the bill? Representative Probst, seconded by Representative Freeman. Okay, the bill having properly a motion and a second is before us. Is there any comment or questions by the members? Chairman Miller.
Thank you. I will be supporting this bill, but I do want to just add a comment. The one, I'm not sure of the history of why the 5-day wait period, but there is something to be said about giving people time to adjust to certain things. Now, we in the Commonwealth, sometimes bills are enacted. The standard generally is within 60 days that a certain bill we pass goes into effect. The one thing is that gives me comfort is, number one, it's under the control of the local officials. Secondly, an ordinance has to be posted well ahead of time so people have notice. But what they don't know is the decision of the second-class township in this case. They don't know their action until after the vote is taken. So there is something to be said about giving time, and for my part, I would encourage municipalities to give time for their people to adjust. And having said that, though, it is under the local authority of the officials to make that decision, and there is that notice period ahead of time. But I do think it is something that we need to be respectful of our constituents, so they do have time pending the actions of a body. So, having said that, I will be voting yes on the bill.
Thank you. Your points are well taken. I'm sure that the townships will use this power wisely. If it's something of a more controversial nature, they would have the option of being able to extend the time before it takes effect. So I'm sure that'll be the case in most cases. Any other comments or concerns raised by the members of the committee? If not, are you okay with a voice vote, or did you want a roll call? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No opposition. The bill is reported out unanimously. Congratulations. And our next bill is House Bill 369. That's Freeman Bill, authorizing municipalities of any size to establish land banks. I'll call on Mr. Costelli to give an overview of the bill, but before we do, is there a motion to bring the bill up? Moved by Representative Probst and seconded by Representative Prokopiak.
Okay, House Bill 369 is Chairman Freeman's bill. The bill would allow any size municipality to create a land bank. Specifically, it would change the definition of land bank jurisdiction by removing the requirement that a municipality have a population of at least 10,000 in order to establish a land bank. Further, it would remove the fewer than 10,000 population requirement for 2 or more municipalities to jointly form a land bank. And finally, the bill would amend the definition of municipality to clarify that it would include optional plan and optional charter municipalities.
Okay. Any questions regarding the bill? If not, I would like to note that this does have the support, I believe, of all the municipal authorities, or all the municipal associations, and the Pennsylvania Municipal Authorities Association also endorsed the legislation. And I'd just like to read a passage from their letter because it kind of encapsulates the importance of the legislation and what's intended. This was issued to us yesterday and came to all members. According to the authorities, land banks have proven to be an effective tool in communities for encouraging new development, improving public safety, and reducing blight. Providing local governments with the ability to acquire and manage abandoned or vacant properties helps to increase property values, reduce maintenance costs, and return properties to productive use. In addition, land banks can promote community-driven planning and ensure that redevelopment efforts are aligned with local needs and priorities. I think that nicely encapsulates the intent of the legislation. Again, any comments or questions regarding the bill? I know you have, I think,
We have
one negative vote. Did you want a
What do
roll
you
call or just a?
voice is fine.
Okay, well,
One negative.
we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And the one negative to be recorded is Representative Wendy Fink. That moves us to House Bill 388, the Serato bill. In my discussions with Chairman Miller, it was determined that we're going to hold this bill for today's meeting. There is some work that needs to be done. He was very proactive in putting together an amendment that has some good qualities to it that we may want to incorporate into some additional language. So I'm hoping that the chairman and I and our staffs can look at ways in which to improve the language of the bill and address the concerns that were raised by local government associations in particular. So we hopefully will revisit House Bill 388 at a later date. Oh, we've been joined by Representative Monroe, who was voted by designation previously. Finally, this brings us to our last bill on the agenda, House Bill 424. Prime sponsor is Representative Brett Miller. Is there a motion to bring up the bill? Oh, okay. Representative Probst is working overtime, so Representative Probst makes the motion to bring up the bill, and I will second the bill. For the overview, we'll turn to Joshua Walker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 424, offered by Chairman Miller, amends Titles 45 and 65 to allow political subdivisions and municipal authorities to publish redundant advertisements on their publicly accessible websites, in addition to require newspaper advertisements. If a newspaper fails to publish an advertisement on time, the online posting will be considered valid. Entities must keep records of their newspaper advertisement purchases of proof of compliance. The bill allows online redundant advertisements to satisfy public notice requirements for meetings. The bill would take effect in 60 days, and under current law, as we know, political subdivisions and municipal authorities are required to advertise their public notices in a newspaper of general circulation. This bill is supported by the State Association of Township Supervisors, the Boroughs Association, the State Association of Township Commissioners, the Municipal League, as well as the Municipal Authorities Association. Thank you.
Chairman Miller, would you like to make any comments?
Yes, I would. Thank you. First of all, thank you for running the bill. And secondly, this is probably the finest piece of legislation we will vote on this entire session. So I just want to add that. Seriously,
The finest to date.
seriously, this bill is no stranger to this committee. And this bill was born from a circumstance that happened in my municipality where our local newspaper got hacked and couldn't advertise. And that put my one municipality in particular on the hook for two situations that could have resulted into legal trouble. Thankfully, those details were worked out, and they didn't have to face that. But we're seeing an era where we have our newspapers are struggling, and there's places getting hacked or other problems that are happening. And so the singular thing that allows our municipalities to operate is advertising. If advertising doesn't happen, then nothing can really happen. So we need to make sure our municipalities can keep acting. And as was noted, this bill would say if a municipality takes the proper steps to advertise according to the legal parameters and they post on their website, if for some reason the newspaper fails to act, the municipality can still continue to act in accordance with what they advertise. I think it's a good bill to allow our municipalities to keep operating, and so I'd ask for an affirmative vote.
Thank you, Chairman Miller, for your comments and for proposing legislation. Are there any other comments or questions by the members? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the vote. I guess we can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The bill passes unanimously and will be sent to the floor of the House. That concludes our legislative agenda for the day. So without further ado, I adjourn this meeting of the Local Government Committee.